Well, hello, and we are having community conversations on the road. I am your host, Pamela Major, and I am here with Cheron Whittaker from CheConnects, the innovator that said, I am going to do something for International Women's Day. That's when we're recording this, and we are here at the beautiful 10 Pearl. So I want to hear from all of these women, but first we're going to hear from the owner of 10 Pearl, April, and she's going to share with us what's your vision for 10 Pearl. Tell us about the journey, tell us about the history. Let us know. Give us the story.
Well, sure. So we opened in basically January 2020, just shy of the pandemic. And actually, our very last event was for International Women's Day. But to give a little bit of background of why and Pearl. Personally, I'm a musician. I've done a lot of work around the world, and I really always admire and loved the art space, the kind of multi-use, kind of like recycle factory kind of space that I found almost in every corner in every country, and it was such a beloved place in every community. And I always envisioned, gosh, it would be so great to have this kind of space and provide it for an area outside of New York where I felt, was sort of needed. And I think this is the second place I saw, by like a little picture on the website. I said, that's the one. And the name was inspired by a lot of the places that I love in the city, for example, that are, you can't really pigeonhole it to be one thing or the other. And sometimes they just take the name of the street. So said, 10 Pearl Street, and this sort of became 10 Pearls. My background personally, I'm a drummer, percussionist. I play other instruments for a living. And I run a nonprofit orchestra in New York called the New York Arabic Orchestra, which specializes in Arabic music. So spreading the awareness of this beautiful culture and very old music that is shared actually in many parts of the world, not just in our world and our countries. And my training has been actually in forensic psychology. I took a master's in New York City at John Jay for forensic psychology, and my goal, like being a musician and a drummer since I was a kid, coming up with jazz, high school, and marching band, all the kinds of things I did, and then discovering world music in New York City and being just completely transformed by it, kind of ultimately converged with my psychology training. And I finally, in sort of the 2008 crash, I was going to work in a psychiatric hospital probably for my life. That was sort of the trajectory. I was working in a children's psychiatric facility in Long Island at the time, and where the kids are court ordered to be there, to go to school, to live there. And there was a music room not being utilized in the place, and I asked the director of all things, why is the music room why is there no activity there? And she said, well, music teachers come and go, they don't know how to deal with it twice a day. She said, you can take a crack at it, And she told me all these things, that, these girls are really tough, watch your back and this and that. And growing up, I knew as a kid who was also seen as a troublemaker and all kinds of things, I always take that with a grain of salt. And sure enough, these girls were like learning the drums, which it takes a lot of coordination and focus, and learning and teaching each other and just loving it. And there was a day when the staff went by and said, are these the same girls? Of course they are. So, but I think the thing that really clinched it for me. One of the girls like sort of looked up to me with such pride, like she's like, I'm a drummer, you know. And I knew at that moment the esteem, the healing, just the everything around just the identity of being a drummer, being a musician. And I knew that was what I had to continue with, so sort of went forward with my own, I guess, say, music therapy. And with that, I worked, like for example, with a lot of refugee populations, Palestinian, Syrian, Rohingya, and time in South Asia and Lebanon, several years.
Wow, that's a lot. So how did you take all of that? And I understand the connection between your degree and your musical background, because there's something about music that makes us change.
Yeah.
Right? There's something about music. I can put music on and there are no more problems.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? And that's just putting it on. It's not even being a part,
Exactly.
you know, and being an instrument for the instrument, so to speak, as a musician.
Yeah.
So how did you take all of that and then come here? And I mean, I wish, audience, I wish you could see, just come to Tech Raw. Just come here. But how did you take all of that and then get it here?
No, thank you. I know it's so much to preface with. It's just,
No, it's okay.
it's just, yeah, I mean, basically, you know, I also worked in inner city schools throughout New York City for many years and also doing the same thing. And what I realized was this is very important. Very important to have a third home, a third space. You know, where, because a lot of the kids I see, you know, work in the Bronx or a refugee camp or wherever, you know, it seemed clear to me that outside of those walls, outside of that class, they might not be getting support at home or in the school. They're seeing, you know, in the city, it's like, here's the airport security, posters, leave your guns. So there's already the sense of like, you're bad, and the teachers are afraid. And there's just no sense of like, you know, I'm sharing something with you and we're equal. And my experience was whenever I came into these schools, always the teachers or the staff were always shocked that there's the same kid.
Well, one of the things I've learned is that the way your eyes work, the way you see things, the way you see people, the perception, so to speak, determines what's going to happen in terms of that relationship. So your perception of the people is that they're people. And when you have that perception, then that's going to bring you into another level of openness to allow them to express themselves. So how could you imagine, and I guess because we want to, I can stay here talking to you. So, how do you imagine being able, because you're so close to the school district, right, Long Branch, how do you imagine being able to then partner or perhaps, you know, just community engagement? What's something that you think you might bring here?
Sure. So either outreach, which is what I've, you know, been doing with the schools and the centers, to visit the classes or after school classes, or specifically, which is the vision, to have after school programming here, which would be incredible. You know, that was really held up when pandemic happened. So I really hope that could happen, and what it would look like would be music, you know, photography classes, you know, dance, you know, yoga, and also what I wish I had coming up, you know, hands-on learning, having, you know, say professionals and photo and video, like, here, operate this camera, see what it's like behind the scenes. You're a musician, let's shoot a video for you, you know. So I mean, that would be so incredible for youth to experience. So.
Well, I think there's a way for that to happen, and we're just gonna keep talking about it until we see it.
Yep.
Right? That's easy enough. And so, I'm going to go from one visionary to another and go to our innovator, Cheron Whittaker, to just talk about CheConnects, to talk about how you came up with this concept. And I know a little bit, but share with us, what is the concept? Give us a little bit of history so that we understand, and then how people can connect with you.
Well, I think April just gave the best example. The conversation that you two had with one another gave the best example of my purpose, is to bring the connections together and to discover the many layers to the individuals that we may know them as one thing. Like, I know April as the owner of Int'l. I knew she was a musician, but I didn't know about her psychology degree. I didn't know about her work with the children. And April and I have spent together time on the phone trying to reschedule a meeting, but end up on the phone 20, 30 minutes. So we've had conversations, but there's so many different layers to people. We don't have the opportunity to sit down and really make those different connections. So that's my purpose in bringing this roundtable together, is to bring people who may or may not already know each other, but they only know each other in a specific capacity, and really take the time to sit down and talk to one another and see what do we have to offer. Those are some amazing things that I never knew. I'm halfway through a psychology degree myself that I put off because of the pandemic. So that's another thing that we have in common. And all these months working together, we never knew. So bringing people together, making the connections, having the conversations, and figuring out how we could support one another in our dreams. You know, you never know. We have someone in the audience from the school board. So you might have that after school program starting up in September. So that is the purpose for CheConnects. I started out in 2021. I legally started my business. It was started as a personal shopping business. My mom is not optimal of her health, so she needed someone to go shopping for her, and she had all her friends in the building. And I met a couple of clients that I still have today that I shop for, who can't get out for themselves. And then I launched a Celebrate with Cheron, where I do parties and networking socials. I do women's conferences. I do all types of things. But what I do know that I do naturally is I bring people together. I connect people. I have been instrumental in a lot of relationships, and even not needing to be a part of whatever came about moving forward. Is just I was there to be the conduit for that connection. So that's what I see CheConnects doing moving forward, just bringing people to the table and reintroducing themselves to one another, and figuring out what we can do to support and thrive together as a community.
And it's pretty amazing, you know, when we get in safe places with safe people, then the conversation is just a whole lot richer, right? We are comfortable with sharing, we're comfortable, you know, and I will sit down and ask questions until there are no more questions to be asked. So, you know, we have the opportunity, again, to get to know each other and to see how can we help each other. And more to the point of this particular community conversation, how can we as women bring some things to the table that's going to help the society, that's going to help the community. And so I will just ask everybody to complete introducing the panel. We'll start with you.
Hello, I'm Emma Alam Smith. I am a mom, a wife, a domestic violence advocate, a sexual violence advocate, and I spent a lot of my time doing behavioral analysis and also just working with different victims of either violent crime. I'm also a survivor of violent crimes, and I'm also surviving glioblastoma, which is a brain cancer. And I have the pleasure of being a manager and employee of my daughter. So and I do, we have businesses and different ventures together as well, but, yeah, this is where I go. I come from Asbury Park, so, I try to involve myself as much as I can in different avenues just to try to help, but, huge advocate for children too, so that's kind of where my head and my heart lies with the children, because it starts somewhere. And I've been blessed enough to have very supportive grandparents that kind of guided me along the way, and I kind of just want to give that love to other people's children. And yeah, that's just kind of where I am.
Thank you. Thank you. It's your turn. Your name?
Oh, my name is River Bay, but my full name is River Bay. I'm pretty sure nobody knows that, except my mom. I am a rapper, and I am an influencer. I have a company. I sell lemonades online, and sometimes out of town, or just wherever I have a show. I don't know what to say. Yes.
It's okay to help? Okay. She's a 9-year-old entertainer and entrepreneur.
And I'm funny.
Okay, and she's funny. And she has toured with some of the biggest hip hop stars. Okay.
I have toured. I had shows with Jim Jones. I have had a performance with Lil TJ and Little Dirk. I also think my mom said that Jim Jones is trying to sign me. He's trying to sign me. Besides this rapping and company and important stuff, I have good grades. I have straight A's. Life's been going good for me. #blessed. But I'm pretty sure that's all I have right now. Except Mom wants to say something else. I don't know.
Well, I thank you. That was great. We're going to be having some more questions going around, so.
I am Taisha Newman. I am a fashion stylist, designer, journalist, artist all the way around. I am, I don't really know what I'm supposed to say. I'm all those things. I'm just an artist. Do a lot of cool stuff.
We're gonna
Oh, I am the vice president of At the Table, women's group, Women Nurturing Women, where we have classes. We're going to be having our first conference on March 25th, where we will be just putting ourselves out there and letting women know that they are not alone. That there is always somebody who is relatable when it comes to you telling your story. And we are looking to be providing a safe place for people to come and unpack their luggage. And that's really just it.
I have more questions. Don't worry. Don't worry.
I'm Carrie Butch. My job that pays me is Rutgers University. So I work for the Center for Environmental Exposures and Disease. So I've always kind of worked in the field of nonprofit. This is my first time, 6 years ago. I got a job with a university, but I've always worked in communities, and my favorite thing to do is work in urban communities. I was born in Bayonne, so I was born in an urban community, but then very quickly my parents moved down the shore. So I didn't get back into a city until I was close to 30, and that's when I started working in Asbury Park. So I started working in Asbury Park 28 years ago, maybe 30. And I was fortunate to get a position with the Asbury Park Consortium as a community organizer and did grassroots community leadership training. And in that program, we developed 58 people. They took part in classes and we gave them funding to do something that would impact the lives of youth and families in Asbury Park. So that was like a very, very cool job. So we started to talk about the redevelopment and getting people involved in the redevelopment in Asbury Park, and they pulled our funding.
Well, that sounds like a whole story. That might be some volumes that are involved, but, well, I think, I'm Pam Major, like I said, I'm your host. My YouTube channel is MBTV, that's where you'll find this community conversation. This is our talk show. I have been an elementary school teacher, coach, I am a coach, a trainer, speaker, now I'm a talk show host, and I have been working with young people since I was younger than you. My first job was being a babysitter, so I never stopped working with children, and I have really taken care of it all. But one of the most important things that I do, I think, is talk about how we develop community. I came from a small city that had a lot of activity during the civil rights movement, and because of that, I grew up in a really beautiful time in that town. And there is an old saying that says, too much is given, much is required. And I have felt for probably the last 20 or so years that I needed to take my givenness, so to speak, and then pour it back out. And so here we are on International Women's Day, and let's talk about some issues. Let's talk about some things that you see happening in community, and then let's talk about solutions, because who just wants to deal with problems? I mean, come on, right? So let's talk about the problem. Let's throw those things out, and then let's talk about how we might come together, because there's a lot of power at this table, right? There's a lot of information at this table. There's so much that we could do, but let's identify what's going on, and then let's talk about, again, let's deal with some solutions. So anyone, feel free. What is one of the issues that you see happening in community that you're like, I really don't like this, and we need to do something about it? So.
Okay, so, like I said, I'm from Asbury Park. I love Asbury Park in its entirety. The gentrification in Asbury Park has been an issue to me. And I'm for the redevelopment of Asbury Park. I'm for the progress of Asbury Park. I just want to make sure that native Asbury Park people are not forgotten about.
So redevelopment without relocating the people
Right.
in the park.
Right,
Okay.
because it's great that everything is changing and that everything is progressing and the boardwalk is coming back and businesses are coming back. And it's unfortunate that a lot of the people who have been here, who have suffered through a lot of the, had to suffer through a lot of Asbury Park trying to get to this point, they kind of got pushed out. And that was one of those things where it's just like, okay, we can change, we can have progress, but does that mean that everything that was already here has to be eradicated? Some things have to be eradicated, the violence, or, the drugs, all that stuff, but it's like, do the people have to leave?
The things may need to be eradicated, but the people don't need to be
Yeah,
removed.
right,
and how do we work with that?
Yeah.
So, okay. All right, anybody else, any other thoughts, comments?
I mean, the lack of things for the children is really mine. Especially as myself, an artist, it's just like, it's nothing for the children, honestly. They're giving all kind of money to the firehouse, millions of dollars, and it's just no way for the kids to be. I just feel like that's the most foolish thing, because it's like, how many fires are average in Asbury Park per year? And then how many kids are hit by cars because they don't have somewhere to be? How many kids are shot? How many kids just is random running the streets because there's not a designated place for them to go that they don't have to have childcare for, they don't have to pay for, they don't have nothing, there's nothing for the children in our community. It's sad.
Anybody else?
Sure, I mean, actually, related to that, I'm disappointed there isn't funding for a space where, you know, kids could be, where there could be programming for people, programs that people really need, support groups, you know, not just for youth, but adults, and, you know. So I'm disappointed too in that I don't see, I see like, again, a lot of money being funneled in certain directions, but not towards small businesses, and definitely not towards the, space that I think can really help a lot of people and serve a lot of people.
I will just say, just to connect you with contracts and planning in Monmouth County and get on their email list so that when the grants come out, you can know what it is that's happening. And when there are some things, particularly I'll say Asbury Park, Red Bank, and now Long Branch, all have Boys and Girls Clubs.
Yeah.
And they do have some programming. It may not be enough, but they definitely do have some programming for youth after school. I don't think the 21st Century Grant exists in Asbury anymore, but that was certainly something that was fantastic because it was from after school to like I think 6 o'clock, and you did homework and you got dinner and snacks. So does more of that need to happen? Yes. And it's something that I think, again, with people around the table, it's like, start asking more questions. You know, start asking more questions. I just wanted to throw that out because I didn't want to lose it. Carrie, you gave you gave gentrification.
I would say I would like to see the Westside Community Center thriving again. Because when I came to town in, what was it, 1998 or something like that, 6'4", something, I don't know. Way back when, it was where I was set when I came into town through AmeriCorps, which was a program with Clean Ocean Action to teach water testing to kids. And I ran into somebody on the street and I said, where should I go? And they said, you should go talk to Susan Maynard at the Westside Community Center. She has the kids there, the kids are there. And now, and some of the programs that we did there, you see the fish on the drains, but you don't have the thriving community center. You don't have a place where kids go, they can do what you say, like they had computer cafe, they had an after school program, they had freedom school. And now there's some hope. There's some new folks that are organizing to bring back the Westside Community Center. I think we need to support them. I mean, just driving by, visually, you're a visual person, you're an artist, just driving by, we need to paint it. Because the visuals are not good. The visuals are not good. You know, so that's one thing. So I would say that we could potentially do. I also, we're doing a community reporting project called the Asbury Park Reporter. The first people we worked with were kids in the 7th and 8th grade. And we didn't go down to 4th grade. But I did listen to the fact that the first thing we did was we had the kids interview the folks that were running for office. So they were running for school board, they were running for city council, and they were running for mayor. So we had the kids create the question and the kids asked the candidates answered their questions, and they did a great job. Excellent questions. I understand you have a song about wanting to be mayor, right? I think that's important. I think it's important for people to understand the political process and how to access the system and how to become the system. You know, I am from an ethnic group that we weren't allowed to be teachers or firemen or cops until we got some power in City Hall. That was how the Irish people did it. We got some power in City Hall, and then we were able to get those jobs. So we have to think about how we can get some power. And I like the fact that you want to be mayor. I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to be on your team.
Right.
More solutions. More solutions.
I think the solution would be for people to understand the importance of art. Because people really don't get it. And most people don't understand the importance of art because they don't know what art is. People think art has to be hanging on a wall. They don't understand that art is in the mirror reflection. And that has a lot of people lost here. So even if we could just really have them having somewhere for the children to do art, it's saving their lives. Because their gifts cause I've been through a lot in my life. My complete aesthetic is for people to understand that mental health can be combated through art. I don't care if you have whatever your problem is, if you figure out something that you can do to dispel that energy in a positive way, something can change in your life and whatever it is that you have going on. And it's so important for other artists to come together and make sure that we make it plain for everyone to understand that it's not a shame to have an art center for the children, because if my son don't know how to act and every day he goes to school and cut up, they want to put him on Ritalin, right? But if I got sense and get that baby a drum set, some markers and crayons, and let that child sit in the room and have a time, he's going to be good at school because he knows what to do with the energy, and then in a rush to get home to get it out of him. And now he has a gift of an instrument that can make him money all the time for the rest of his life. People don't understand how giving this child art can change her life. Just because I can do hair, I can go to bed broke tonight and wake up tomorrow and go to bed tomorrow with thousands of dollars. If I spend my day right and my price gauges is proper. With an art, that's you, right? You making your money, the baby, river, everybody. If you paint paintings and you sell them for $10,000, you can do that for the rest of your life. They're saying right now they want to put cosmetology program in the school. Now, I'm not on their side, I got problems with them too. But one thing I think is for certain is that if you teach a kid how to do something with their hands and they don't have to ask nobody for permission to make money, that's the best thing you could do for them. Nobody did a better thing for me than teach me how to do hair because I can always take care of myself. I don't need nobody to do nothing for me. All I gotta do is make myself available to make the money. It's still art. And I'm still like better than who I was because I already know that. If you're going through messed up, you're a writer, you do art, right? So baby, if you stressed out and you have a bad day and then you go make some music, how you feel? Exactly. So I think it's really important for people to come together and make sure that the understanding of art and what it is and the impact it can have on the children in a positive way, we could save lives. We really could.
Okay, but art is part of the gentrification in Asbury Park. So here's my question. How do we, I mean, for a long time, artists came into town when it was, you know, maybe at its lowest, and they lived, and even Springsteen, right? Didn't he live in above the surf shop on the boardwalk? So, I mean, there wouldn't be a Springsteen without affordable housing, right? I mean, he lived cheaply and he was able to do that for a living, as you said, right? So how do we keep, I think our threat is affordable housing and rents that are now $3,000, $4,000.
That's not the threat. The threat is making the children think that art is not an actual job. The threat is making the children not understand their worth. and just making it brushed off that, oh, you know how to paint, instead of, oh, you can make $5,000 on this, that's different. Is diminishing the work that they were already born with, through the talent that they have, and acting like it's not that, because people love art,
And I'm
gonna
gonna,
pay for it.
I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna say it's both.
Right.
I'm gonna say that, just to, again, on more than one occasion, I've had artists say, I'd love to live in Asbury Park, but I can't afford it.
Man.
On the other side of it, not understanding the power of art to heal, to tell a story, to communicate, to build bridges, is also a great error. So you have a gift and a talent that some people don't understand is necessary. Even though all of these studies show that when people do their art, they're better at everything else. Right? So you have that side of it. And then you have the side of it where, as you are waiting for that breakthrough, right? You're coming home, you're doing your art, and then you're finding out that you can't come home because you couldn't pay for your home. And so there's both, right? It's understand that art is healing, it's therapeutic, it tells a story. People have been writing songs, all kinds of movements for centuries that are political statements, right? And then we have, well, where can you live? Because we don't have a lot of people sponsoring artists in the way that occurred, several decades ago, right?
Right, I totally agree with what you're saying. I still feel like, though, when I was a kid, right, if somebody would have told me that the fact that I could do hair like I could put me at this insane level of Paul Mitchell, just the understanding of, this is what I'm saying, the value of the art. Not as just, Ty can do hair, Ty can paint. It was much more than that. But when you're not around people who live through what you're looking for, or have the understanding, or even the ability to see your gifts, right, you come up shortchanged. That's why I'm saying, like, making sure the kids understand, Rich Shore, River Bay, understand that she's a celebrity every second of every day, right? Because we're feeding her to know she's never going to be no star artist around us, I grew up with star artists. My son is a well-fed artist, but it's not the same for everybody. So there's no reason thank God for everything I've been through and who I am now, but there's no reason that at 35 years old, I'm just now understanding my true value. If somebody would have taught me that when I was 9 years old and did my first perm, I would be much further along now. So we have to stand
Oh, I agree. I think that what we do as a collective table is we take this information
Right.
and we share it. This is going to be on my YouTube channel, right? So people are going to hear about this. We have all connected, and so we can do that. One of the things that I say all the time when I do training, it really is what you say. There are things that I wish I knew when I was much younger. Now, I think there's probably a balance between I wasn't listening and it wasn't said. Right? I just being honest. I don't know if I was listening. I don't know if sometimes your sensitive nature, and I'll speak for myself, my sensitive nature may have said, oh, I'm not that good. I'm not, filling up the I'm not list. And then as you mature and not get older, because you get older and not mature. That's just checking off boxes on the calendar, getting older, right? But as you mature and you say, hey, I'm pretty good. Hey, I wish I would have, and I spend my energy, honestly, when I'm working, just did it yesterday. When I'm working with young people, I try to give them all the tips on how to jump over the hurdles.
Right.
Because I fell over so many of them, right? So, and you're in a generation where you can pick this up, you know? And also, and I will just say this to parents, caregivers, give to your children, not the money, not the money. Give to your children what you didn't have.
Right.
That wisdom that you now have, pour it into your son. The wisdom that each of us have, let's pour it into someone younger who can receive it, because if they can't receive it,
Right.
they're not your mentee,
Right.
right? And that's okay, and you're not their mentor, and that's okay too, but somebody is. So some of the solutions that I'm hearing, because I feel it like we have to close. We have to close because we want to give, we got a couple people here, some people in the audience, we want to give them an opportunity. So this is your cue. If you have questions, this is your cue to be thinking about them. We're getting ready to ask you to ask us. There's power at this table, and I know that's the fourth time I'm saying it, but I really want us to get it. There's power at this table. We have, Karen, we didn't really get to you, but Karen preserves oral history. And particularly for those of us that are in the African diaspora, that's what we do, right? We don't use the word mentor, we use the word jolly. The jolly is the one who carries the blood, and the blood keeps the life going. So we, at this table, the connections that are here, right? We've got artists, we've got speakers, we've got connectors, we are connected. How much could we do if we just made the commitment to not forget each other? If we just make the commitment to say, we're going to figure out how to come here and do something at Tech Pearl that's going to be innovative to children, that you have the opportunity to speak with groups of children and show them and speak to them about what you've learned and pour into them because they need it. They need it to understand, and I say this, and I am a certified elementary school teacher. My parents are my first and best teachers. Parents that are listening to this, be your children's first and best teachers. If you need to turn around, you can do it. Be your children's first and best teachers. And let the staff support, let the staff be your village, but be your children's first and best teachers. Be their advocates, which means they are not always right, but they are always loved.
Right.
Okay? Right? Was that good?
That was very good. That was very close. That was so.
So, like I said, we have some people in the audience, and just wondering if you all have any questions or thoughts about what we shared tonight.
First of all, I'd like to say thank you for this great conversation. My takeaway is that there's power in community, right? And certainly you're showing that here tonight. And I think we're speaking specifically about the Athlete Park community and your concerns. And is there avenues, having worked within the city government there, is there avenues for getting a coalition of people that think the same way that you do about gentrification to have a voice? And I'm willing to bet there's probably a good 1,000 people that feel like you do. And the amazing thing is it doesn't take very much for a public servant to get into office, as your daughter dreams of becoming mayor. I think it's something like 10,000 signatures, right? And it doesn't take very much to shake a tree and watch those leaves fall out. And with the power of 1,000, let alone 10,000 people, I'm wondering if you've tried that and it fell on deaf ears, or is it beginning to gain momentum?
So what we did is, we did a focus group for the Asbury Arts Council to talk about the need, well, I do. I coordinated a focus group for the Asbury Arts Council, and was going in, as was River, and a number of other artists in our community. We did come together, we talked to them about everything, they're actually presenting it to the board of, the City Council tonight. But, what happened though after that, yes, we did do that, but what we did find, was that yes, there are a ton of people who agree with us. That conversation in itself was extremely powerful. But like you said, no, we were not scared off. But I think it was just more of not having the folk. For one, the devil was tricky. And so once I had all those people in the room on the same level, you know what I'm saying, of understanding, then of course it was time for us to be attacked, because there's no way that I would have all y'all in the room able to actually make something happen and then it just go easy. So this was, what we just go through, 6 months? Maybe, was it 6 months? And I mean, every one of us had to suffer for being able to have that breakthrough in there. You know what I'm saying? So it comes with things. It comes with the good and the bad. I think that we are all still, everybody that was in the group is working daily in their own right. I'm always working, River's working, Emma's working. So we're all active artists in the community. So it's easy for us to get distracted. But I do, it's about time we came back to the table.
And I think, just, go into it knowing that things are gonna happen.
Yeah.
So just make, just make time consistently, just always have your next. And I will say on the housing issue, there is a meeting on, March 21st. It's during the day. I will have to get back to you because I'm not gonna be able to be there, but, there are groups, particularly in the faith community, to work on affordable housing. So it is happening. It is definitely happening.
And I know we've been doing, like you said, everybody's been working tirelessly in their own right. I am a part of another cohort with Reverend Kirk.
Mhm.
And it's called the Beauty Project. And we've been trying to continue to, we've been working for prevention for violence and different things. But I think a lot of the things that we found out, and a lot of things that I've been trying to share with everyone, that a lot of times the breakdown in community usually starts at home. So it's like, even with the gentrification being an issue, there were other issues that I felt like we had to attack. First, home, we touch home base. So it's like gentrification is an issue for me. It's not the biggest issue for me. Being from Asbury, being that I've been here my entire life, I've lost friends, and a lot of my friends haven't made it to 30. My siblings haven't even made it to 20. So it's like I am tirelessly working, trying to figure something out. And I've been blessed to be around people that care enough to try to figure something out too. So it's like, I'm not afraid. There's so many other things to be afraid of, and this is just not the thing that's going to ever
Okay, so,
cause me to be afraid of this.
so we know that there are things that are in the works. I think it's just being consistent,
Yeah, that's
right? Regardless of
whatever
happens,
Yeah.
just be consistent
Yeah,
and continue the meetings.
yeah,
And, I call it tissue therapy. I'll take something like this and I'll write the issues down on it. I'll crumble it up, I'll burn it up. If it's Kleenex, I'll flush it down the toilet, and have a little ceremony and say,
right,
I'm leaving this issue
right.
on here. Now, if consistently that doesn't work, therapy is always an option. I believe in it. But I think you have to do something sometimes to let yourself know that you are demanding a change.
Yeah, right.
And then whatever it takes to make that positive change happen, then you make it happen.
Yeah.
So I think being consistent, and I think also doing the search, right? Doing the search. Make sure that nothing is going on in the area that you are discussing. And then if that's true, then find out who partner. If it's not true, partner with people that are doing it.
Yes.
So, thank you. Anybody? Any additional questions?
I'm wondering, I apologize for that came in with me. With you guys discussing affordable housing. So with regards to Asbury, what is going on with regards to affordable housing? Is it not enough? Or, what is the situation with that?
Not enough.
Okay.
Not enough, and some of the housing that is being built is affordable for people who are at the median income or above. And the median income in Monmouth County is somewhere in the high 70s to low 80s. Yeah, thousand. So it's affordable for that population.
Right.
But if you make less than that,
Then there's nothing.
there's not as much of a variety. Did I say that nice?
Yeah. And there is an affordable housing coalition that has done some really good things. They did get a rent control. They put that on the political agenda. And they were able to, if you're in a certain situation, not every situation, but if you live in I think it has to be 3 units, if your landlord has 3 units or more, you're covered under this law. And it would mean that you could only get your rent raised 3.5%. That would be the max a year, which is good. It's not great. I fought for more, right? Because you wanted it to be, but it was not terrible. So the problem is that the city, do they have the capacity to enforce it? How many people know about that law? How many people just accept that when they get 5%? I have a close friend. She just told me yesterday, oh, I got a 5% raise. I said, well, you're covered under, and she's not even sure if she wants to take it to the table, But
There's a lot of fear of those in power and what isn't going to happen. And I think, again, it is people like the people at this table coming together, having conversations, sharing wisdom, because not everybody knew that, knowing where to go and when to go. And I think that it's that power, the collective wisdom, because it's we is always better than me, right? So as we allow the we to get closer and to do more, we're all going to be better with that. So I want to close this up, and I just want to ask each one of you to share a word of hope for the people that are going to see this. So let's just, however you want to do it.
Okay. A word of hope is just that we are here right now, sitting together, that CheConnects exists, that we came in person. There are a lot of things that we could be doing. There's work, there's family, but we made the time, and you gave us the space too. And that's important. You need a space. You can't do this when there's distractions. So I think that gives me a lot of hope, because we can't live on the phone in this other reality, because people on there are just two-dimensional. They're not flesh and blood like we are right now. And it's hard to solve problems that way. So bringing people together is very important.
So your word is gathering.
Gathering in person. Yeah.
Can you just give an official introduction of yourself and the name of your organization? Because we didn't get you.
Okay, that's right.
It's still recording.
Yeah, so recording. Oh, okay. So I'm Karen Finkelstein, and I have a nonprofit called Wonder Story, and our website is wonderstory.org, but it's spelled WUNDER because the O was not available, and as it always is. And also, though, I like the concept of, if you talk about a forest, the understory, the part that people don't always focus on. You know, everyone sees the tall trees and, you know, but the understory is what keeps it all going. And we want to get the stories of people who are the fabric of these communities that are here today, that are in the audience. Again, you took the time to be here, and the people that are watching this, you know, people with that interest. Everyone has a story. Sometimes we're not willing to share it, we're not ready to share it. And I've interviewed people who, you know, have been survivors of the Holocaust, who didn't talk to their children because it was too close, but would talk to their grandchildren because that other generation was a little bit of that space and time. And they can tell me, you know, things that they went through. So we want the stories, and we want to elevate Black history. Yes, it's great that it's a month, but it is American history. And if you think you know American history, but you don't know Black history, then you don't know American history. And there's a lot of erasure that's still happening right now. There's a cemetery out in Tinton Falls that is under threat from developers. And the descendants of the ancestors there, I mean, they're here. They live here and they're fighting this. And, you know, there is a site in Eatontown that a group has been trying to get recognition of. It's where a man named Samuel Johnson was lynched. It's the only known documented lynching in New Jersey. But you leave that open because history, if you research it, you might find others. And it's been buried. And these stories have to come out.
Well, I will say, Bingo Jack, I was just at the 1 year celebration on Sunday
Okay.
of the space
Yeah.
there, but one of the grandchildren of her secrets, I'm trying to think of who you were speaking about.
Mhm.
She was there talking about the fight to try to get her family's land back.
Yes.
So,
Yes, and that
yeah.
was the cemetery that, and
Yeah.
yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, so much Black land has been taken, and you know, there's this resistance to talking about that history because there's shame in it. There's shame in it for any person who, like me, I walk through this America, because we're talking about America, as a white person, and I may not have had anything to do with it. I'm not a time traveler. I didn't go back in the past and cause this, but I enjoy the benefits of it.
Yes.
And that's a very gross, uneasy feeling. And if you don't feel that shame about that, then there's something wrong. Then you're tuning it out. You're putting on blinders, and that has to be confronted. It's not to make people feel bad, but for them to recognize it's still built into our institutions. And, you know, we have to root it out because being together and you know, uniting to solve problems, we need everybody.
We need everybody at the table.
Yeah, we can't just like sit in the corner and pretend things didn't happen. And knowing your history, knowing the history of your local area and who came before you, and you know, that older lady that you don't see come out of the house too much, but she might have been a civil rights marcher. You don't know. So I want to get those stories, and I want to get them into schools and in front of students. So that's
Thank you,
important.
thank you, Karen. I'm glad that we got a chance to.
She's gonna work in the cameras.
Yes.
And I'm a production person, and that's me.
So let me give everybody, this is, your word is 15 seconds. Got 15 seconds.
It starts, hope starts in the home, with your youth at an early age, no matter, I was raised by my grandmother, you know, my dad died early, wherever you are, to raise you. And do anything you can, anything. Even if the school doesn't have arts program, they want to put your kid on Ritalin. Everything you can do, give arts first, provide it in the home.
Thank you.
As far as hope, I guess my word would be yes. Believing in the yes, no matter what. When
Awesome.
the no's are prevalent, believe in the yes.
Melia.
I have two quotes.
Okay.
I'm not too sure what to say, so I'll just start with two quotes.
Okay.
So for Black History Month, I learned this quote by Maya Angelou. She's a really good artist, making books. She said, if you don't like something, change it. You can't change it, change your attitude. And also, I made this one by myself. Life is like a rainbow. You have to get into the rain to get to the rainbow.
Awesome. Thank you.
I would say there's no need for bravery in the absence of fear. So if you feel scared, just be brave.
Be brave. Love it.
I just want to remind people that it's the 50th anniversary of Hope for the Flowers, which is a story written by Trina Paulus, and it's a great story. So if you haven't ever heard of it, go to your library and get it, but it's the 50th anniversary. It's called Hope for the Flowers.
My word is gratitude. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. My action for each of you is to open yourself up to people. Last month I did a campaign of read-ins. I challenged myself, and what I noticed through all the organizations and different people that I went and approached with the opportunity for the read-ins, although I know personally that they are connected with other people, they don't support one another. Honor your evolution and honor others. Don't allow your history to keep you from moving forward. Don't allow your history to be a badge of shame. A lot of us come from the same place, and we may have done some things that may have been distasteful for who we are trying to be now, but it still set a foundation for who we are. And it shows that we can overcome some things and be great in spite of our past and our history. So open yourselves up, become available, and be willing to connect with other people who don't look like you, because they may be your biggest supporters, you know?
Well, I am the close, and my word is care. As we come to an end of this on-the-road version of Community Conversations, I want to thank our panel. I want to thank the owner of this beautiful space, Int'l. I want to thank our audience, and I want to thank you. We look forward to you. One, of course, I want you to subscribe to my channel. And two, let us know what you think about what we had to say. We need all of us, for all of us to make it, right? It needs to be us. It's about we, it's not about me. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a good night.